Hi, my name is Jay Nettleton. The process that we're going to be showing you today is going to be how to make a yeast starter. We're going to be getting ready to do 15 gallons of a blonde ale batch, one of our home brews that we're going to be doing. So in the process of doing that 15-gallon batch, we need to make sure that we have enough yeast to be able to do what we need to do. We've already procured some yeast already. In this packet that does about 5 gallons worth of yeast. We're doing a 15-gallon batch, so we're going to make sure that we're going to have to make sure that we have enough yeast to be able to do our batch. So the process of what we're going to do is actually kind of make a small home brew in this flask right here. We're going to add dry malt extract, which commonly referred to as DME. We're going to put that into this jar right here. We're going to heat it up, boil it, do the whole process of actually making a small batch of beer, and then that we'll be able to cultivate our yeast into the right amount of cell content that we actually need for that. This has about 100 billion yeast cells. We need to have a lot more than that just to get to where our 15 gallons will be productive when it goes into the fermentation stage. So I'll go ahead and show you how we'll get started. I've already measured out 120 grams of dry malt extract. You need to have about 1 gram per 10 milliliters of water. So we had 120 to 1200 milliliters of water. Excuse me. So we'll go ahead and we'll get that added into there. And as we're doing this process, this is going to congeal up nice and healthy inside of this water, so we're going to have to make sure that we shake it up very, very well so we don't have anything that gets stuck when we do the boiling process down here at the bottom. Once I get this dumped in there, we're going to get a good shake. That goes back in there, then we're going to just shake this up. Alright, so now that we got the dry malt extract into our flask, we got it stirred up really good, make sure that there's no clumps or anything that's going to be close to the bottom. Now we're going to move it to the hot plate to where we can put it to a boil. One of the things that's the good part about putting it to a boil, it will kill any bacteria, so we're going to sanitize everything that's going. Biggest thing about making beer is making sure everything is sanitary. We're also going to have to put it onto a stir plate once we're finished. So this magnet is going to actually the stir bar that goes inside the flask that will spin it around, make a vortex to make sure that the yeast has a good palate to be able to ferment and culture in there to make sure that the yeast cells get a little bit higher. So now we're going to add the flask to the hot plate and we're going to get it up to a boil. Then once we get up to a boil, we're going to stay there at 15 minutes. So I'll go ahead and add the stir bar to the flask and then put it on the hot plate and get it to boil. Alright, so now we got our solution up to boil. This is one time you're going to have to pay very, very close attention of it because this can easily boil over, just like kind of how I was doing right now. So you got to actually, be very mindful of it. Let it sit what it's got to do, and then you can put it back to boil. Probably a good idea for us to lower the temperature just a little bit. But now that we got it boiling, we're going to boil for 15 minutes. And that's, like I said, it's going to make sure that all the bacteria and everything else that's in there is going to congeal well, plus the bacteria will be gone, and then we'll be able to cool it down. Alright, so now we got the boils over. We need to be able to cover it so we're not going to get any contaminants in there. So we're going to take some Star Sand, the sanitizing solution that we have. We're going to make sure that it gets nice and good, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to cover the solution to where we can now move it to a colder area. We're going to put it into a water bath, and in the water bath that should make it get to where it's going to be down to temperature to where we can actually pitch the yeast in. At that point in time, we'll cut the bag open and we'll actually put the yeast inside of the solution. So now we actually made the 15 minutes for the boil, and then now we need to get back to our fermentation temperature, which is going to be about 70 degrees. So right now we have this our solution soaking in a iced water bath just to get it down to the temperature. Once we get it down to the temperature, then we can go ahead and pitch the yeast. All right, we're now taking the solution out of the water bath. It's about time to where we go ahead and pitch the yeast. One thing that we got to be very conscious of once we finish the boiling stage is everything has to be super sanitized. Our yeast has actually been sitting in the sanitized solution as long as with a pair of scissors. So anything that we're going to do from now going forth has to be super sanitized. We don't want to get any yeast contamination, any bacteria, or any foreign objects in our beer. So you're just going to make sure that you're very cautious about when you take this off and that there's nothing that's going to be going in there. So we'll go ahead and remove the cap for right now. We'll go ahead and get the yeast out of the yeast bucket. We'll go ahead and pop it open. We're going to be we'll go ahead and we'll dump the yeast into the container. We want to be very careful that we get all the yeast in there. We don't want to miss anything out. This is going to be the main part of the beer going forward. So once we have the yeast populated in, we'll go ahead and sanitize our cap. Put that back on, and then we're going to move it to the stir plate. And we'll get the magnet spinning. And we're going to leave this on the stir plate for 24 hours before we actually physically start the beer. So that was the process of actually making a yeast starter. I hope that everybody was able to learn something new today. Y'all have a good day.